Hello. In this video I'm going to describe what motivation is from the point of view of psychology and particularly of neuroscience. An understanding of motivation is important if we want to understand the neuroscientific basis of drug addiction. I'm saying that because I'm assuming that the essence of drug addiction is that it's a dysfunction of motivation. It's motivation gone wrong, gone out of control, if you like. So let's have a look at what motivation is, and we can define it as the process that mediates goal-directed responses to changes in the internal or external environment. And there are really two aspects to it. So motivation then can be divided up into, let's start with two parts. The first one is what we call consummatory behavior. Not sure if I spelt that right, but I think it's two M's, isn't it? Behavior. And the other one is appetitive behavior. Rather challenging my spelling skills today. So what are these things? Well, the best way to describe it is in terms of somebody looking for a meal, right? So you're hungry and you want something to eat. So motivation then would be the drive to eat. But that has two parts. One is when I found the food, I want to eat it. So here the consummatory behavior is eating. But I also have appetitive behaviors, and appetitive behaviors are the behaviors which lead to the consummatory behavior. So this would be foraging, or perhaps hunting. An early model to explain how this works was quite a simple one, and that was the idea that motivation is largely homeostatic. So, for example, if we feel cold, we're motivated to seek heat, and that would provide a negative feedback against the cold. So this is the idea then that the basis of motivation is homeostatic. So you have a fixed point for each variable. So this would be a certain level of body heat or of satiated amount of food availability or energy state in the body, or all sorts of things, and that a negative feedback loop would try to keep this constant. So then effectively what motivation is actually the drive to preserve this homeostasis. Now that's fine, that's true, and does describe a lot of the things that we do. You know, when we're thirsty, we're motivated to get a drink. When we're hungry, we're motivated for food. When we're feeling we're at the bottom of the pile socially, we're motivated to advance ourselves and so on. So it does describe a lot, but it doesn't actually explain everything that we do, because there are a lot of situations in which some sort of exterior stimulus has its own incentive power and gets us to want to do things. So we perhaps need to take into account the fact that certain stimuli are themselves intrinsically appetitive, that is, that they provoke motivation. So let's come up then with a model of how motivation actually works. So we have, on the one hand, we have these external stimuli. So that might be a nice cream cake or whatever. And we also have a set of motivational states. So these are, if you like, drives or inclinations to act. And these stimuli are feeding in to these motivational states. We need to add in our homeostatic, what should we call this? Let's call it drive. So these two add in. So this here might be thirst. Up here I might have the appearance of a cup of tea. I might not be thirsty. The cup of tea might be enough to bring about this motivational state. And we'll look at the neuroscience of that a little bit later. And these motivational states lead to appetitive behaviours. I'm really struggling with my spelling today. Appetitive behaviours. So this might be, for example, looking for the tea bags. Or it might be putting the kettle on. And these in turn finally lead to the consummatory behaviours. Such as, at last, drinking. We have to remember that, of course, these stimuli can also affect at different levels this hierarchy. So that then is is a model of how we can conceive of motivation and how it works with the other behaviours that we do. And in other videos in this section, we'll be looking at how the neuroscience underpins that model and how it can go wrong during addiction.